Hello friends, and welcome to the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video. This is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and today I am bringing you yet another installment of Fan Favorite Friday. Now, this video specifically is going to focus on, now I call this team the Full House or Solos Wild, and essentially it is a Rolo team with regular Leia, other Leia, whatever you want to call her, OG Han, Old Han, and Hoth Han. Now, the synergy between this group is very effective. It's very fun to play. It was actually recommended to me today, and I threw it together. I really like the team. It is viable in certain areas, but I do think that it hits a wall against specific teams. Now, what I'm going to be showing you today is different areas that this team functions in best. Now, I do think this team is going to do its best in Arena. Now, believe it or not, I think what you will see is, depending on your Arena shard and who you have in the topmost tiers of your Arena shard, I think you're likely to get, like me, into the top 50 with this team. But here's the major catch to this. Because the makeup of the team is what it is, it's unlikely that you'll use this team in the top 50, because it is one of those teams that, I mean, you have to have Rolo, you have to have Veteran Han, you have to have Hoth Han, and while OG Han and the OG Leia, right, that A New Hope Leia really aren't difficult, and you probably have them by now. The rest of this crew is really difficult to farm. Probably not worth farming. It is a fun team, and I do recommend, if you do have these tunes, put them together and just try them out, even if they're not 7-star, even if they're not completely geared out. Now, the tunes that you are looking at now will be, or are, geared to gear 12. They are completely maxed out with Zetas and the works. I did put some pretty solid mods. The best that I had on Rolo and OG Leia. The other mods were the same mods that I used in the Akbar's Glass Cannon video, if you remember that, which are just basic mods for the Hans, but not the best mods. They're solid, they're good, and they're specific to those characters, but again, not the best mods. Now, we will go through and watch the different videos, the different clips of these different characters. Now, as you can see, I will also show you kind of the tail end of the events of the Rancor and the Heroic AAT raid. Now, neither of those were very effective in either of the levels that I tried them out in, but I did like it. I'll give you the rating just up front. I would say on a scale of 10 Millennium Falcons or 10 Ben Solos, I would probably give this a 6. Overall, fun factor, 9 or 10. Synergy within the group, definitely very high. I mean, it's probably an 8 or 9, but it's not strong enough, and the characters themselves are not strong enough to really overcome a lot of the odds that face them. Now, I haven't tried this out in a territory battle yet, or a territory war, and I am looking forward to seeing how that plays out. But we will see that later on this week, and I'll probably report on that on my website, goingnerdy.com. But with that, let's go ahead and look at the Arena. Now, the reason I like this is because of Leia's ability. It's super effective against Empire teams, and that is why I'm excited to see this or try this on a light side territory battles. But other than that, it's just not super effective because we're not seeing as many dark side Imperial characters used. Now, it would be interesting to see this team go up against a trooper team, a stormtrooper team, but right now it's not the best team for some of your other ones. And we'll start off by kind of showing you what a little bit of the meta is. I'm using this team against a CLS, a Leia, an R2. Really, it's a rebel team. And while it does start off with some pretty effective, pretty important moments, it throws on ability block right off the bat. That's very important because essentially it takes Thrawn out of the picture. Then I'm able to stun him. I'm able to kind of stop R2 from doing some real damage. I'm able to drop Thrawn pretty quickly. You see him just lose his health over and over again. And the nice thing about this crew is it's pretty stable. But again, now that Thrawn is gone, I'm going up against a solid rebel team, and they are a solid rebel team. Now with Hoth Han, I'm able to take off debuffs and give protection back up. Leia or Rolo is able to give protection back up. But really, there are a number of issues with this team that really don't work as well as they should. Now, what's nice about this team is it does have a lot of synergy. Leia or Rolo's leader ability grants all rebel allies have a 20% tenacity increase and a 20% critical chance, which with this team, that's very important. Whenever a rebel ally takes damage from an Empire enemy, they have a 50% chance to gain foresight for 2 turns. The first time each turn a rebel ally resists a detrimental effect or suffers a debuff, they gain 30% turn meter. So it's really a lot of benefit for, you've got some benefit when it comes to turn meter, but definitely what is most effective is this team against a rebel or against an Empire team. Her barrage, her rebel barrage, which is really cool, deals physical damage 10 times to random enemies. Enemies struck more than once suffer ability block for 1 turn. The ability cooldown is reduced by 1 whenever Leia scores a critical hit or suffers a debuff. And these attacks can't be countered. Hold off her basic deals physical damage to target enemy and inflict buff immunity for 2 turns, which is really nice against some of more buff heavy teams. Leia gains 10% turn meter and an additional 10% turn meter if the target had full health, and then 10% if the character had or just was an Empire character. This is really effective. Now her unique Leia has plus 10% offense and plus 40% tenacity. The first time each turn Leia resists a detrimental effect or suffers a debuff, she gains 15% turn meter and gains 35% offense, stacking until the end of her next turn. That's a powerful thing, right? So it's that critical chance that that rebel allies gain plus 20 tenacity. That's very effective. Now, I didn't use a CLS in this because I felt like 2 Hans and 2 Leias with the Luke might make things a little awkward. Also didn't use Kylo unmasked. There's some family drama there. Maybe I will. Maybe that's the next video that we create called Family Drama Solo. We'll see, actually. I probably won't use it. But what I like about this combination is the unique of Princess Leia. When Leia attacks, she gets 55% chance to grant all allies critical chance up for 2 turns, and then recover 5% health and 5% protection. So she's giving herself health and protection every time she attacks. Now, that's a 55% chance every time she attacks using that hair trigger. She has a potential to attack 3 times, so there's a 55% chance over 3 different attacks. That is a very powerful ability, and so she's constantly giving people buffs and constantly giving people abilities. Now, that is the reason why I wanted to try this out in the HaaT tank raid, but I could not get through the first phase. Now, I will probably run this team later on with in phase 2 or phase 4, because that is a very beneficial thing to see, because this team, when it hits, is going to crit and going to crit a lot. Now, Captain Solo, his disabling shot deals physical damage and can daze, hunker down, dispel all debuffs on Han. Unfortunately, that's this Han, not all Hans. That would have been cool if, you know, that bug existed where all Hans had the debuff taken off. I'm sure that was one of the first things they fixed on this guy. And other target ally, right? And they both recover health equal to 40% of Han's max health and gain 25% turn meter. Then if the target ally has full health, they also recover 20% protection. So this character can get protection or can give protection often. So that's not too bad. Now, it does have a 10-turn cooldown, but this ability's cooldown is reduced by 1 when any ally suffers a debuff. Now, unfortunately, because of Leia's ability, characters have tenacity up, so it is unlikely that, or they do when they suffer debuffs, it's not often. So maybe I should have switched him out for someone else, and I may switch him out for CLS and to see how effective that back and forth is. And then he has this, you know, revive a random defeated ally at 1% health, but since this is a rebel team, that ally will recover 50% health and gain 50% turn meter, which is pretty beneficial. His unique Nick of Time, Captain Han Solo, has a 15% critical chance plus a 30% critical damage. In addition, at the end of his turn, Han recovers health equal to 10% of his max health. I've stacked Han's health pretty high. I've put on the best health mods I have. If Han already has full health, which he will often, the least healthy ally is healed instead. So Han really becomes this healer just by going, just by being around, and that's nice. Then we have OG Han, which you guys are familiar with. I do have the Zeta on him, so he shoots first. He attacks twice the first time he uses his basic each turn, or the first time each turn, yeah, he uses his basic, and then he deals 50% less damage. But again, he is one of those characters who has a 35% counter chance and a plus 20% critical chance. So with all things combined, most of the critical chances on these characters are ridiculously high. So when they hit hard, as you can see with some of the characters that we're going through. Now, I like Veteran Han. I think he's a really fun character to play, but he doesn't have his Chewie, so the partner in crime ability kind of goes out the window. His unique really doesn't have a great synergy here. But a lot of the other ones do. And his other unique swindle, when an enemy gains a buff, Han gains 25% counter chance stacking until the end of his next turn. When Han gains a debuff, he gains 50% defense until the end of his next turn. When Han gains any status effect, he gains 50% armor penetration until the end of his next turn, and that is stacking as well. Now, what is great, what I like about this ability, what I like about this Han, is his true shot is a really powerful attack, 50% chance to attack again, and that's doubled if the target is debuffed, so it's 100% chance on targets that are debuffed, and it will inflict stagger for 2 turns, which is really nice. But then can I try that when he's shooting? The bowcaster deals physical damage to all enemies, stuns the primary target for 1 turn with an 80% chance to inflict ability block. So that gives us 2 different looks, both at light side fighting against the rebels, and then dark side fighting against First Order and, you know, the Sith. Very solid teams. I didn't encounter any Empire teams, or else I would have shown that here, because I think this would be a very effective team against an Empire team, against a full-on, maybe a General Veers or maybe a Tarkin lead, but who uses Tarkin as the lead anymore? I am curious, like I said, to see how this plays out in territory battles. Now, I do want to finish off by showing you the last 2 And I won't show you the whole thing. I'll speed up here at the beginning. But this obviously is the phase 1 of the heroic Rancor. You see a lot of damage being dealt. And, you know, they do some solid damage. I didn't put it on auto, which there's a lot of great auto teams out there. And so it's really not worth it to me to continue this team or to try this team in Rancor. This team just did not cut the mustard, or mustard. Didn't hold. It wasn't as good as it could have been. Now, I did also want to try this out with or against the tank. And it was interesting. I mean, same situation happened, but not enough to make it worthwhile. And in the end, I'm only able to get about 8% of the overall phase 1 done, and that's just not worth it. There's a lot of other tools and a lot of other teams, and because OG Han is effective in a few other areas, you don't want to use him in a phase that is just not worth it. But this has been our second iteration, or our third iteration of Fan Favorite Friday, or I guess better is Fan Request Friday. But with that, what did you think of what I like to call the full house, or Solos Wild? And leave a comment in the section below. Like, subscribe, share. Check out my Patreon page if you feel like I make great content. Help me out. I am really looking forward to doing more of this. I will be investing in a better computer in the near future. Hopefully some more adjustments to my lights so that the shininess of my bald head doesn't blind you. But leave a comment in the section below, like, subscribe, share, and we will be continuing this throughout the end of the year. Just as a, you know, Christmas present, I will review any team that I kind of deem valuable or just want to see play. If you have an idea, let me know. I will be testing out next week in a series of videos the Separatist and kind of talking about what is wrong with them. But leave a comment, share, subscribe, like this channel. And this has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as always, my friends, stay nerdy.